Very truly, I tell you, you will weep and mourn, but the world will rejoice. You will have pain, but your pain will turn into joy. When a woman is in labour, she has pain, because her hour has come. But when her child is born, she no longer remembers the anguish, because of the joy of having brought a human into the world. So you have pain now, but I will see you again, and your hearts will rejoice, and no one will take your joy from you. On that day you will ask nothing of me. Very truly, I tell you, if you ask anything of the Father in my name, he will give it to you. I'm lucky enough to have 3 brothers, and one of them, Andrew, works in a field of business I really don't understand all that well. That's in public relations. Several years ago I asked Andrew what his job was all about, and in answering me he explained that it was all about helping craft a public message, a positive image of their client, which would be appealing to their potential customers. He went on to explain that sometimes when there was bad news or something had gone wrong, his job was to work with his client to find positive stories within the messiness, which could help divert attention from the bad news itself. He described this effort as changing the narrative. Well, I was reminded of his words when I reflected upon today's gospel reading. You see, in it, Jesus uses the analogy of a woman in childbirth to help his audience see that whilst they felt their world was presently full of pain and anguish, there would become a time when that pain turned into joy. He was, in part, saying that the tough times were transitory, that they would end eventually, but he was also saying that faith, when expressed in prayer, leads to joy. In other words, in the midst of gloom and darkness, it is possible to change the narrative, and it takes faith in God to achieve it. Well, we're now some 8 weeks into our enforced social isolation, and in conversation with people over the past few months, I have learnt of the wide range of difficulties and challenges that many of us are dealing with. At the beginning, there were the many practical difficulties, where the basic necessities needed to be addressed. In time, this has moved on to the challenges of an ongoing isolation, and I suspect that many of us have had days where we felt frustrated, alone, sometimes just downright sad or depressed, perhaps overwhelmed or angry. I think that recognizing that this is a common experience is helpful, perhaps even important. But I do wonder if it is time for us to begin to take control of the situation and to start considering how we, like Jesus, might begin to change the narrative. This is becoming increasingly relevant, for there is no indication that our lives will return to what we fondly remember as normal any time soon, perhaps not even this year. And I don't mean to belittle the difficulties or challenges, for they are very real and they of course do change over time. But I do mean to suggest that through these experiences, we might now begin to turn our attentions to how we grow and how we thrive through them. What is the joy that can make our hearts rejoice, not upon the ending of social distancing, but in the here and in the now? There are a great many changes that have taken place, a great many new skills that we're learning. Some have discovered technological innovations like Zoom and Facebook, amongst others. Others have discovered the quiet tranquility of jigsaw puzzles, reading, listening to music and painting, and these are all positive things. They're all means of achieving personal growth, be they technically, socially or spiritually. As a parish, we remain rooted in prayer with invitations to join us at 9 o'clock and 5 o'clock each day to reflect upon the day and offer our private devotions to God. Changing the narrative means not only doing things differently, but also thinking and speaking about things differently. How can we think differently about our experiences? What joys can we find today that we might have been missing so far? How can we grow through this and be more, perhaps be more like the creature God wishes each of us to be? That's the challenge. And that's what I leave you to ponder today.